In this demo, we will look at the Microsoft Agent Framework and how it handles conversations and threads. For this example, we're looking at a simple console application. We've got three methods: run a chat loop without a thread, run a chat loop with a thread, and run a chat loop with a thread and implement serialization and deserialization of a thread. So we can look at the code here, and we can see we've got a simple loop that accepts the user input, and then we invoke the run streaming async method to send our prompt to the LLM, and then we simply echo back the response. So we can run this, and for added context, this agent has been primed to behave in the form of a personal trainer. Okay, so we can ask something like, and we can see we get several exercises related to the 5x5 program. This is the most straightforward way to invoke an agent using the Microsoft Agent Framework. So that is that, and we'll close this, and then we'll invoke this method. Now, if we expand the code here, what we can see down at line 65 is a call to a method get new thread. And what that lets us do is, out of the box, right, agents in the agent framework are stateless by default. And if you want to handle conversations and maintain any form of state, you effectively have to create an agent thread. And that's what this line of code does. A little bit further down at lines 79 and 80, we pass the agent thread as a parameter, right? So we'll run this code again. And this time, however, when we supply a text prompt like we get a response like before, and we hit a breakpoint here. Okay, now I've got a breakpoint here so we can investigate the agent thread, right? So we can expand this object, and we can see here we have two items in the collection, right, that belong to this thread. So we've got our initial prompt, and then we've also got the agent's response, right? Now, historically, in, say, semantic kernel, you had to manually add the human prompt or the agent's response to the chat history. With the agent framework, you get this out of the box, okay? So that's one good thing. We'll close this, and we'll run the final method, which is very similar again. However, what we're doing here is we are calling this serialize method and deserialize methods. And what these help you do is to, if you wanted to, persist and reload an agent thread to a storage mechanism. That might be a file system, it may be a database, and I talk a little bit more about why you may want to do that in the accompanying blog for this video. So we put a breakpoint on here and run this. Here we have hit our breakpoint, and if we look over in this console application, we can see we have the JSON that represents the serialized version of our thread. If we go back into Visual Studio, we can see at lines 135 we have a deserialized version of the thread here, okay? And that then gets passed back in to the agent at line 138, okay? Now, what's interesting here is we've got all of the history as well as the most recent items, right? So if we look down here, we can see we've got in line 138, we've sent over a prompt that says, hello, how are you? But we've passed in our previously serialized agent thread, okay? We've got a response that says I can only assist with questions related to health, etc., etc. However, if we look at the thread again, we can see that the thread's been updated that is associated with our agent. So that's it. In this demo, we have looked at the various ways that you can implement threading with the Microsoft Agent Framework. There's more information about this video in the accompanying blog, which you can find at jamiemaguire.net.